So here we are at the 2023 iomtt TT, and it's what day are we on now? I'm lost track completely. It's Wednesday. Wednesday is my this afternoon. I'm racing the Superbike, and the OMG team here are just prepping my Superstock bike and the Superbike for Friday and Saturday. So something I spoke about for a while is doing a comparison video on the differences really between the two bikes. They both obviously start life as a Yamaha R1. The stock bike being it used to be called the production class, is now the Superstock 1000 class. And a brief overview on it is we run stock fork outers with Batubo internals and different spring rates, which we adjust and change throughout practice. Chassis is all stock. Brake calipers remain stock. We run racing pads. We've changed the front discs, which you're allowed to do. The forks are standard. This is just a coating which we've put on the front stanchions, which look nice, and a little added touch goes with the black and gold. Obviously a full race exhaust system, which it's an Acroprovic main system, but we've changed this end can. I've got big feet, so I think I've gone through this in another video, but this exaggerates the good noise that this bike already makes, and makes it even louder and better, and clears up that area, so I've got a bit more room to maneuver my big feet around. So when we're in that area, this is something we've done this week, particularly on both bikes, is sharpen the outside of the foot pegs, just so I can grip the bike that bit better. It's some of the sections here are so rough, even with the best suspension and the best setting in the world, it still can kick your feet off, and you really need to keep everything in contact with the bike. So I'll just stay focusing on the Superstock bike at the moment for pit stop. So we're racing this bike next. This isn't, a lot of people think this is for my chin when I'm tucked up, but it's actually during a pit stop, the pit crew will place the fuel cap in there and then change my visor and clean the front screen. It just means it's not going to be held in the hand. The risk of it being dropped is less, but it's just somewhere safe for that to sit, ready for when the fuel's completely in, they can replace it and we can carry on. So we run a different fuel tank. This is obviously bigger capacity. It has to be we just under 12 litres a lap. So this tank is 24, just under 24, 23.9 litres or something. 24 is the limit, so it's pretty close, but we replicate the shape and size between the two bikes, and add a little bit of foam here. It just adds me a little bit of comfort in my chest. Again, through those rough sections, the bike like bangs up, and although I wear a chest protector, it still beats you about a little bit. So little bits like that, just to make my life a bit easier. And obviously something quite significant is the bigger screen. In the British Championship stock class, you have to run a standard height screen, but here they change the rules just to safety, I suppose. Really, you know, it really fatigues your neck and head a lot. With you'd be in a lot of trouble trying to race around here with a low screen. So this just helps aero and saves the rider a little bit. Head and shoulders, just refines the aerodynamics and gives the rider a little bit more protection. So aesthetically, the biggest telltale is the red number board. It states as in Superstock. The Superbike runs a white number board. On this side, I mean, it is close up. Those that are watching that know, well, you know, a lot of this is all just stock. We run the GB engine racing covers, again compulsory, standard radiator, standard oil cooler, but with lots of protection on here from stones. Stone debris can break the rad and then end your race. So yeah, not ideal. And we have on the dash, we running on this bike a Motec electronics, and on the dash I have obviously shift lights. We have no speed, just revs, shift light, gear position, but also if the engine temperature exceeds a certain point, all these top lights will flash red at me and make me aware there's a problem with the engine temperature. So that's years ago, before that we had that sort of function, it was something I was always worried about, was overheating the engine, because there's only certain points of the track where I look down and check the temperature. So it's nice having an actual alert if that changes. So it's pretty much about there. Gear shift wise, I run road shift. I know many run race shift, but I stay road, Dean Harrison's road, and that's just 1 down 5 up, and for me just keeps it simple. Up for up, down for down. It's I know a lot of people rush to go and try and ride race shift and think that turns them into a racer and it's quicker, but I think it's a bit of a myth. You know, it's not as big an issue as some people make out, and often confuses things. So yeah, I stay and ride road shift still. One actual thing on the stock bike is the thumb brake. So I have no rear foot brake, it's all up here on the thumb, just to help me control. I don't use that to slow down, only to control wheelie. So on these big bikes, really, I have no electronic wheelie control or traction control. It's all in my hand and on the thumb brake. So to control a wheelie, I generally either upshift, short shift a gear to a higher gear and lower the revs and lower the power, apply a lot of thumb brake, or I have to manually close the throttle, which costs more time. So the best way to maintain optimum acceleration and drive is to maintain full throttle and hold the bike back with the rear brake. So, and last thing really on the stock bike is a span adjuster. So this here is just to, as the front brakes change, the lever can sometimes come closer to the bar or further away with wear or temperature. I can adjust the span on the front brake lever by clicking this, and I have this sign here, wide down, so I know, again, just keeps things simple. So I know when I turn this down, it widens the span on the front brake. I can't remember what year, maybe 2011. I didn't have this, it was at Knock Hill, and I wound it the wrong way, made my brake even worse and crashed. So lesson learned, and now just try to really learn from that. And sounds silly that I may have to remind myself, but it's just something that's not something you want to do, especially on the TT courses. Make your adjust your front brake the wrong way. So I think that's pretty much it stock wise. So if we come over to the Superbike, which generally this is less of a Superbike than we came with last year in 2022. So we've kind of, I wouldn't say we detuned it, we've simplified the chassis and made it more like the Superstock bike. So the jump when I change bike to bike is less, and there's more familiarity between the two, so I can meet the same markers. So it's probably easier to say the different and better parts on this bike. In Superbike, it's fairly open book, but I've got much stronger front brakes, Brembo master cylinder and calipers. We're running full Bitubo World Superbike spec forks, and same as the OMG team use in the British Superbike Championship, and also rear shock. So Bitubo, that was a big jump for us this year. Last year was Öhlins, and I struggled with some areas, but this Bitubo seems to have really helped the Yamaha here and worked well for us. Again, fuel tank's the same. Bodywork wise, we run World Superbike spec carbon fibre fairing, which is actually slightly bigger, gives me more protection, really helps aero. Slightly smaller screen on this bike, but it works, it still works, and I think the bigger kick the sides have here protect my shoulders a little bit more in full tuck. And we also run this fairing brace, which just really keeps this rigid and strong for those fast, the downforce at, I think the best speed in the speed trap here this week was 197, so close to 200, and things change, like 180 upwards, the things change a little bit, and any bit of advantage you can gain with wind protection and aero is only going to help. So engine wise, the Superbike is probably another 20 plus horsepower than my Superstock bike. It's not to its full tune, because we probably sacrifice a little bit for added reliability. The bikes here are full throttle for so much longer, and also the races are longer. They're an hour and 40 odd minutes, whereas a British Superbike race is maybe half an hour max. So the bike's doing over 3 times the distance, and it's getting a nailing. So we kind of we do a lot in practice and test sessions here with the fueling, just to keep the bike at its optimum, and also protection. We don't really want it to be running lean and damaging itself. So it's yeah, just trying to look after the bike as best we can and keep the engine and all components happy. One big thing we changed this year from last year is on the Superbike is the swing arm. So we've actually just modified a stock swinging arm in 2 ways. Firstly is for quick release, because the Superstock race is only 3 laps. We don't do a wheel change, whereas the Superbike we do 2 pit stops. At the end of every second lap we will refuel and change the rear tyre. So the team have modified a stock swing arm for they can change that rear wheel in under 30 seconds. And the other modification is just a slight like milling out of the rear, so we can get a bit further back wheelbase, which I think we're running maybe 10 mil longer on the wheelbase here. It isn't as long as you can get with the factory swing arm, but it is enough for here. So it's always a compromise. You go too long and you can lose grip but get feel, and a longer bike wheelies less, but we run really long gear in here anyway, so the actual acceleration isn't that aggressive. It's not really wheeling too much, and when it does I apply that thumb brake again. So but the biggest thing with this swing arm change is we can run the same linkage. So I'll try and explain really how and simplify how the linkage works. So last year on the factory swing arm we had to run quite a linear linkage. So basically the way the link works is it alters the rate of I would say leverage the swing arm has on the shock. So as the tyre lifts or the wheel lifts and the swing arm compresses, the rate or the strength of the spring and shock can either kind of drop off or stiffen up. So what we've managed to do with this is maintaining the stock link is have a real plush initial movement in the swing arm right at the bottom of the stroke for all the fast like 5th, 6th gear stuff, where acceleration is the actual drive grip and acceleration is decreased, because obviously you lose your drive at high speed. It's still accelerating but nowhere near, you don't get that squat that you get in say 2nd, 3rd and 4th gear. So that first bit of movement in the swing arm is really important, just to keep the bike balanced and allow a kind of, I use the word plushness, which is something a phrase we use with setup, but just keeps the bike nice and smooth and not too hard so the bike's then kicking and upsetting itself. And the middle area of the middle zone, I kind of refer to it, is your working area where we do drive hard, and in a corner where you load the rear shock and the back end of the bike drops. And then there's kind of the top end of the stroke when the back wheel is higher up right up into the back subframe, is for the hard compression areas, like here on the TT course is Bray Hill and bottom of Bagaro, which is your 2 key points we have to set the bike to here. Last year we had to spring the bike quite hard to deal with those, which made the bike too hard in those other areas where I wanted it soft. So it's we kind of went round in a bit of a circle, but where we're at this year, it feels good, and that's showing in the times. I've done good times on both bikes, and there's a little bit more to come still. So we'll keep working with that and see and keep logging everything. That every time the bike comes in, the technician plugs in the laptop and downloads all the data. We run a logging system that records all the suspension travel, my throttle position, brake pressures, speeds, GPS speed, wheel speeds, everything. So it's good for optimum setup, and we would never look at a whole lap all the way through like you would maybe on a short circuit, but I would come in and pinpoint sections of the course where I feel I had an issue, and we can then adjust spring rates or compression damping or rebound damping to kind of suit that. But we haven't had to do a whole lot this week, which is nice. So it means we're close, and the bike's working well. So But the downside of having all that logging is I can't lie. So if I can, the guys can see exactly what the bike is doing. If I say it's doing something different, and they'll say, well, it's not because it says here. So I can't bring too many excuses out. If I'm being a wimp, not braking hard enough or throttling enough, then there's no hiding. So I think generally that's about it really with the comparison. Lightweight wheels, we run the Oz Racing lighter weight wheels here, which are the same size, and obviously Metzler tyres are we run a dual compound. So for the high speeds, I don't know if you can see on the camera there, we run a thicker band in the middle of a harder compound rubber, and then each side in practice we test various sidewall edge grip like compounds for optimum grip and duration. So the Superbike, we can get away with a bit of a softer side because it's only doing 2 laps. The Superstock bike is a 3-lap race of the edge of the tyres to hold up for 3 whole laps, which yesterday's race it did really drop off a little. I still had a lot of feeling, which was good, but it was definitely different to lap 1 and 2. So, but I could go for a harder tyre, which may not work as well in the first 2 laps, and then it's always a compromise with grip and tyre life. So, and also you would never really want to be going into a race on a new tyre you haven't ridden in practice. So I think I'm just going to stick with what we've run so far, and stick with what I know, and try and maybe look after the tyre a little bit more lap 1 and 2, but to have a bit more left maybe in lap 3. But no tyre lasts forever. As long as you have good feeling, then that's important. So I think generally we're about there with an overview. So if you have any particular questions or see anything on the bikes that you want to know what is what, just quickly, this is a compulsory thing for this year. Every machine out on course is carrying one of these GPS trackers. So this is our GPS module for our logging, and this is for the organisers up in the race office, so they know where every motorcycle is on course at any time. Even course cars, sidecars, any vehicle that goes on the closed course will have one of these, so they can track everybody at all times, which is safety and only a good thing. So I think we're there. So yeah, let us know any questions in the comments, and keep watching, and we'll be back soon with something else.